Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm Dave Westcott and I have with me Jeff Lawrence of JL Remodel and I have Pastor Dave Lundquist. And before we get into chatting with these two great folks, why is the entrepreneurial journey so important? Well, I believe in business it's so important to give back. That's my why. That's why I'm here. I think I met you, Jeff, in maybe 2018 with Pastor Dave.
I think so. Yeah.
And we came down to your office,
Yeah.
and you have a big giving wall, or like you have a big wall with pictures of all of these places that you've been to.
Yeah.
And for me, that was hugely inspiring to see that.
Cool.
So I created my own giving wall. It wasn't like yours, but it was of my own, of all of the different places that I gave to, and the stories behind them, and the impact that that made for my team. And a lot of the people on the team really believe in that and they love that and they love to stop by and take a look at that. And that was actually inspired by coming to your place.
Oh, wow.
So Jeff is a contractor who does remodeling. He owns a nonprofit, JL Cares, and he was on the TV series HGTV Unsellable Houses as the contractor. Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and why giving is important to you?
We started a business in 2001, so we've been around for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been part of like short-term missions and things like that. It's just always been part of my own personal culture. And I just wanted to start bringing that into what I do. I find that a lot of people want to give,
Yeah,
but they just don't know how.
true
And they don't
story.
have an avenue, especially if they're non-Christians or they don't go to church or something like that, or their church maybe just isn't involved in the community as they would like. They just don't have a place to do that. So by providing that first step in giving and showing them that they have something to do, something to contribute.
What are some of the places that you give back to? I mean, you take some pretty amazing trips. Like you're down in Mexico, I think, building houses. And I mean, and your guys really look forward to these. This is like a big part of what you guys do.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I'd like to challenge you on the word giving back.
Yeah.
I actually don't like that phrase.
Okay.
Because I feel like we've been blessed with a certain amount of skills and just even maybe financial freedom sometimes that I think it's our responsibility to take care of our fellow humans.
I agree.
And so I know it's semantics, but I don't know, something about the word giving back, because if we're given so much, we're just sharing.
Okay.
And so it's like, I don't know. I always challenge people on that little bit of the phrase of giving it back.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, I know.
Sharing is caring. There is actually don't want to get too biblical here, but I am a pastor. An ethic in Scripture that says, we are blessed to be a blessing. We have been blessed, and our responsibility is actually just to be that conduit of the blessing that we received. So, I like the give back idea is that you are the source of it, but we're really not at the source of it. I mean, because we can't take credit for pretty much anything in our lives. If you really, we do the hard work, but yet so much of our lives are, just a conduit.
God gives us all this stuff, and He says we can do whatever we want with 90% of it.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. So we'll call it sharing forward, or
I don't know.
we'll flip it around.
But I mean, the philosophy behind it is that it's more of a responsibility,
Yeah.
rather than just something that I'll give a little bit back or something like that. It's more of a responsibility for us to share the gifts and all the skills that God's blessed us with. That's kind of the idea.
You're a part of a group called Dwellings as well,
Yeah.
Of which, tell us a little bit about how many houses you have built, your time down in.
So, I mean, Dwellings is a great organization I linked up with in 2011. And 2011 is not a great year for contractors. I don't know if you remember.
Nope, it was bad.
Yeah, it was not amazing, not super lucrative. And I'm sitting in church and I'm like, this guy comes in, he's talking about doing this build in Honduras. And I turn to my wife and I'm like, hey, I want to go on this trip. And she's like, how? I mean, we had a couple of months with like zero income. I mean, it was
tough times.
It was tough, and it was like $1,500 is all I had to come up with. And I was like, I don't know how, but I really feel called to go on this trip. And she's like, all right. And so I earned the money,
Okay.
went on the trip, and it was horrible. It was the hardest trip I think I've ever been on in my life. We were
Really?
way up in the jungle. We had to hike the house up this mountain in the rain, and I lost my voice. And I'm supposed to I'm the construction guy on the trip. It's like, and so I'm supposed to build this house in the middle of this jungle, right? And it was really hard. And so we get done, and this little woman, she had 3 small kids. She had lived in the dump, literally at the dump.
Gosh.
And she took her 5-year-old, and she was thanking us for the house. And she takes this kid, and she's holding on to him, and he falls asleep. And I had a little extra lumber, and there's no way I'm hiking it all down,
Mhm.
And so I built him some bunk beds and like a little kitchenette.
Okay.
And anyway, she took this kid, and she put this child on this bunk bed that I made. And I was like, wow, or whatever. And then I found out later that this was the first time that this kid had slept off the ground in his life.
Wow.
Mm.
And I was like, I mean, if this isn't what being a Christian or being a human is,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have nothing else. So I was like, you know what? I'll come back. And I've been back pretty much at least once a year, maybe a couple of times a year to Roatan. Then we branched out to Cuba,
Wow.
Colombia.
So for the last 12,
Guatemala.
13 years, you've been going back.
Oh yeah, building at least a house a year for sure.
Wow.
Usually it's gone up to almost 3 trips now, or 4 trips a year.
Some of your team guys at work actually join you?
Yeah. So I've been bringing my family, on different various trips, which is amazing. If you ever get a chance to bring a son or a daughter on a mission trip, jump at that, because that's something you'll have for the rest of your life.
That's a life changer.
It is. And then, of course, employees, and stuff, other family members, and then, friends, other businesses, other business owners, which is really spectacular because they've also branched out and started doing their own builds.
What is taking, your business and some of your guys, what has that done for your business?
I mean, the intention wasn't, for it to be a marketing ploy or anything like that, but quite honestly, it's good business to give back. Because I mean, people, like I said, want to be part of something like this. And if they're going to go get their kitchen remodeled or their bathroom remodeled or whatever, and they can go to a company that actually does something with the profits for the community, and we have proof of it,
right?
They're going to want to choose you. I mean, they're going to want to be part of that organization. So
it gives you a little extra push, a little extra oomph.
It does, and people really fall in love. Like you said, we have this community wall or giving wall, and it's just a bunch of pictures of just all the different places, like I said, I've been and where teammates have been, and and stuff, and they come in, they take a look at that, and they kind of fall in love with us.
Well, it's super inspiring. I mean, I walked in, and not only was the wall, you've seen the wall, but then you have the the books of the trips that you have put together, and you flip through those, and I cannot. It's just an inspiring, media to be able to share. I think people walk in there and they're like, "Wow, this is really cool."
Yeah.
So,
I mean, being part of that show, one of the great things about that is that because it was so demanding of my time.
Yeah.
My team had to be self-sufficient.
Right.
And so we had to grow the business and run the business at the same time. And so the business can almost run 100% without me. And so
that's a nice place to be.
Oh, it's a great place to be, because I can take all my efforts and now do some of these passion projects that I have, and stuff, and start focusing on those things. So that's why we came up with JL Cares.
So it's really been a blessing since 2011, fighting for that $1,500, as many contractors can relate to.
Yep.
just making it across the line, getting there, diving in, doing the first build, and now your business runs itself, and you've got Jail Cares, which is your nonprofit, which does what in the community?
So we always got the question, it's like, oh, you do all these great things out of the country. Well, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
You know? And so it was a situation where, I mean, we did all kinds of stuff here all the time, but it was
Sure.
never really super organized or
Yeah.
anything. And so what I was trying to do is I was trying to create that same experience where we would go in and we would interview a family and to qualify for a home. And they would say, oh, yeah, I live in the dump, literally, or whatever. And I would love to have a house. But that woman over there, she has 2 small children and she just needs it more than I do. And we were just like, oh my gosh, we're saving these people's lives and they're literally giving it up for somebody else. We try to bring that same kind of mentality here to the United States, which is, it's literally impossible almost.
Right.
And so the whole object behind, or the whole, goal behind Jail Cares is to bring community together, number one. And then number two is to celebrate like the skills and the stuff for my staff. So number one is like bringing the community together. So we want to have somebody go out. So you can't ask for yourself.
Okay.
But if you know somebody who's had a hard time or going through something or whatever, and they need some stuff done to their home or something like that, you can sponsor them.
Okay.
And so we celebrate that community, that sponsorship.
Sure.
And so a lot of our efforts go in half the show, or we do these little webisodes, is just celebrating that.
Okay.
So we want to celebrate the, hey, this person's made an impact on my life, or this person is just a really great person, or this person just is in a really hard time, or has had death in the family, things like that. And you can go, I'd really like to help them out, but I can't help them out. I don't have the tools or the sources or the skills.
Sure.
But I would really like to do something for them.
Yeah. So you've done a number of kitchen remodels, bath remodels.
Yeah, we've done
Jail
some.
Cares.
Yeah, we've done some projects, some pretty good sized projects, but most of it is just literally honey-do lists.
Huh.
It's stuff getting the house back up to par.
Yeah.
I got a hole in the roof. I got a hole in the wall. I got lights over here. I got this and that. So you start adding them all up, and it's a fair amount.
And you try to do this in a day, over a couple of weeks, or how does that work?
Yeah. So we put together. We're pretty organized, and we come in there and attack the house in a day.
Okay. So whatever the list is and the issues. So if
Yeah.
if I know somebody that needs some help, I refer them over, and I'm like, hey, Pete can use some help, and and we'll get with Pete, and then he gives you a list of stuff, and then your team puts it together and says, hey, we can knock this out in a day. Maybe it's fixing a rail on a entryway, or fixing a roof like you mentioned, or whatever it might be, and you guys will go in and boom, 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 do all those knockouts for somebody here in the US.
Yeah, and there's no cost. There's no cost to anyone. We cover all that, but usually what happens is we go in and we walk through the house. We listen to their story.
Mm-hmm.
We find out more about them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually asking for something simple, like you said, a railing. Their railing's busted. It's dangerous for their children.
Sure.
It's easy. So I start looking around. And I'm like, hey, what's going on over here in this bathroom? Doesn't look like your toilet's working, He's like, yeah, but the railing's more important. And so we're like, I'm like, yeah, put that on the list. And so usually I come in and we add about 5 to 15 more things to the list. And
wow. And you're videotaping all these.
Yeah, we got a in-house camera guy that does that with us. Yeah.
I think I saw one of these videos.
Yeah.
Do you have a channel on YouTube?
We do. Yeah. Just Jail Cares YouTube.
Yeah. So I've watched
a number of them. They're great. I mean, they've done a really good job.
Yeah, there's a few of them that are really like near and dear to my heart. There's a couple of them that are just like, wow, this is an amazing story.
Huh.
But yeah.
Which one's your favorite? Can you share a little bit about your favorite story?
Well, we have one in the works right now. It's just a cancer story. The woman had cancer, the daughter had cancer, the daughter got better. They can't visit with people in their house because their immune systems are compromised. So they only have a deck, but their porch is like the size of this table, and it's just really difficult. So we're doing this over in Snohomish in the next probably in about 2 months from now, we'll be all organized for it. But we're going to build them like this amazing, great deck.
Wow.
You know, so that it's just a meeting center, you know, that they can come outside,
Yeah.
masked up and talk, you know, and they're really involved with their community. You should see they're just an amazing family. So there's that. We've had another lady that she does like meals for like working families that just can't afford it. Disabled veterans. That was her calling. And she had been involved in this for a number of years. And anyway, her son unexpectedly died, and he was like 22.
Wow.
Went through that. About 9 months later, almost through all that, her husband had a heart attack and passed away as well. And it was just like devastating. And they were in the middle of a kitchen remodel, and she just sat on that for 3 years.
Wow.
She didn't move.
Wow.
And she wasn't involved in the community anymore. She wasn't, you know, all this kind of stuff. And anyway, somebody heard about this and sponsored her. And her name is Renee. She was an amazing woman. And she came, and she was just like, she was kind of resistant to the whole idea. She wasn't, you know, and so
Yeah.
we had to be very careful and very respectful, of course, of all that. And she allowed us into her home, and we set it up, and it was only like a 3-week turnaround. So that was pretty quick. And from when we met her to when we actually did the project, she was a different woman.
Really?
And then she's written us since, and she's back in the community. She's back, you know, like
Wow.
helping everybody. And it's just, that's an amazing story.
Very
To
cool.
me, that's a really cool thing. They go in, bring a bunch of guys in, put in a window, redo her kitchen, whatever.
Sure.
She cooked for us.
There you go.
Can't miss, you know. But that was something that was like, man, you know,
Yeah.
it multiplied.
Right.
So that you can't do any better than that. So that's one of my favorites.
That's amazing.
I bet I mean, you've got not only your company, but a lot of the subs that you work with
Yeah.
and all of those guys involved as well. I mean, that's great for them as well.
Oh yeah, it's the only reason we started JL Cares is because we had so much, you know, people in the outside just wanted to contribute some way,
Yeah.
and we didn't know, like, we couldn't take money
Right.
because it's income,
Yeah.
and so we had to start a nonprofit just so they had a way of contributing.
This thing has taken a life of its own.
It has, and like I said, because of my now, I stopped doing the show, the remodeling show for HGTV. Now I have all this time that I'm just focusing and dedicating on to this, and so it's really going to blow up in the next couple of years. I'm hoping it's going to be hopefully bigger than my business. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's awesome, man. If for the listeners out there, I mean, I'm sure that it's every entrepreneur's dream to be able to build a business that they don't have to be in every single day.
Yeah.
So for the entrepreneurs on the call, what's the one thing that helped you do that, and what's one tip you would give to anybody who'd love to live the life that you live?
It's hiring the right people.
Okay.
And then treating them really, really well. So we hire on the 3 C's. So it's character, culture, and competency. And character, that's your parents.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you're brought up.
Yep.
So I can't really contribute to that. So you got to have somebody with good character. The
Yep.
culture, I make it very apparent when we're hiring and what the culture is of the company, what our thought processes are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, talking about giving back with the responsibility of contributing to the communities. You know, and competency. Competency is the only thing we can teach.
Mm-hmm.
So if I weight character and culture over competency a lot. So,
Yeah.
and then you got to treat them well. So you got to make sure that their needs are being met. And that isn't always just money.
Right. Sometimes it's time.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's, you know, medical benefits,
Sure.
whatever it takes, you know, like these, you know, they have needs. So
Yeah.
we
How
have
hard was it to
counseling.
let go? Was it hard to let go?
Oh, I'm in the process of it. Yes. Yeah, it's a process, and it's a weird situation to be in, because honestly, my staff does not really need me.
Yeah.
In fact,
They're
sometimes
self-sufficient.
They really are. They really are. But we found that being completely removed isn't healthy for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're in this situation where it's like lots of communication.
Right.
Just lots and lots of communication. And then I chime in every once in a while. We have debriefs. We have feedback loops on our jobs and things like that. That's the kind of stuff that
Sure.
I'm more involved with, and then I get to, hey, what's the next business we're doing, or what's the next venture and stuff like that. I get to start dreaming again. So that's kind of fun.
That's cool. So you're really living that visionary role.
Right. Yep. Yeah. There's a great book called Traction.
I've read Traction.
Yes.
We use the EOS system.
Yes.
So
There you
we
go.
are big believers in the integrator and the
Yep.
visionary and all that. So EOS is, do you implement and use EOS today?
Yeah, we do parts of it. Yeah.
So EOS has helped you identify those right people, right seats.
Yes. Yes.
Very
And
cool.
we've had to move some people around. Like I was just telling them before this that I've had an employee that's been with me over 20 years.
Yeah.
So almost since the beginning.
Right.
And it's tough when you have somebody that's that dedicated
Yeah.
and you're saying, hey, maybe this isn't the right place for you on the bus. I want you to go to here. And he's looking at you like, that seems like a demotion,
Yeah.
and it's like, just trust me. And he does, and he's much happier. He's still getting paid the same. It's not like he took
Right.
a demotion and pay or anything, but you have to identify that, and that's tough.
Yeah, that is tough.
There's like an ego involved, and you have to navigate that. So that could be difficult.
The people who got you where you are aren't always the people who are going to take you where you want to be.
Yep.
So you have to move those seats around. That's one of the toughest things about business.
It is.
It is tough because you got people who break their back for you or walk through walls for you. And
my sister works for me.
Oh,
yeah, and there's nobody more dedicated.
yeah.
And she's been with me since like 2012. And so
Yeah.
that's a long time, 10 years.
Mhm.
And I've taken care of her very well, but we had to move her around. And she's done everything, so so it's like, so
business is moving, man, all the time.
It
What
is.
it looks like today is not what it'll look like
Yeah.
in 6 months. Not only do I have my brother work for me, I have my
Okay.
sister-in-law work for me.
Okay.
So I've got a brother and a sister-in-law,
Yeah.
and a lot of my brothers-in-laws are subs. So it's messy, right?
It can be.
Family is a bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Sometimes it tastes really good. Sometimes you didn't get enough Parmesan, but it's good, man. So that's cool. So you're moving people around. You're using EOS. That really helps give you a structure.
Yeah.
So you're not an EOS purist. What have you done to EOS that's a little bit different?
You read a ton of books and you glean a little bit from each of these things. Honestly, that is probably the biggest thing on the EOS. It's just making sure everybody is in the right, most fruitful place.
Yeah.
Well, then you have to know, like, what are they good at? That's part of that,
Right.
What is their
Strengths.
Yeah. What
Sure.
are not only their strengths, but like, what do they actually enjoy doing?
Yeah.
What's life-giving to them?
Right.
Man, my COO, great man, Paul Willis. He I think his license plate actually says life-giving. He uses that word like constantly. I'm just like, good grief. But it's a good word. It's like, it brings the best out of people, if it's life-giving to them.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of testing. We have another one called, we just went through this other book. Oh God, he's going to kill me about this. It's one with the gears. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, I can't remember what it was called. Sorry.
That's okay.
But it's a great way of figuring out, like, hey, does this person has tenacity, or does this person have, galvanization, or,
Right.
or what is their strength? And then also, what do they feel like they have to do? So it's kind of like a DISC test,
Sure. Do you use personality assessments in your hiring?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We use them. I use them in my family.
How does your wife feel about that?
I think she likes it because it figures out. I have to figure out how to communicate with people. I have a hard conversation. I literally go back to the my top 5 strengths. Strength finder, or I go to the DISC test and I'm like, okay, don't say this, say this, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, and it helps me when I don't consult the books, man.
It's true. Personality tests. We use personality tests here. They're hugely important because you can pick things out of people. You know what what's going to happen. You can see their traits before they're not going to have very much attention to detail. They're going to miss things on the job handoff, or, they're amazing for business. So what I hear you saying is like, you're like a constant learner. You're constantly learning and growing and evolving and finding tools to help you grow your business and the other nonprofits and things that you're a part of. That's pretty cool. What do you think the best book is? If you had to recommend one book to the listeners, what would it be?
Wow. I like the Simon Sinek of Finding Your Why.
Finding Your Why. Okay.
Yeah. Finding and defining your why. So our why at JL Remodeling and JL Cares is just having a positive impact on people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that covers family, that covers employees, that covers clients, that covers all the nonprofit people.
Is that your mission statement?
That's not our mission statement. That's our why.
Okay.
And so why we do everything is just it's on our shirts.
Sure.
Just having a positive impact on people's lives. And, the mission is the more to do with like, what we do, a little bit more of what we do. But yeah, it's just keep it simple. We took 6 months going through that book as a group, as a company, to figure that out. We took some time.
Yeah.
That is some time.
Yeah.
You recommended a book to me years ago that I ended up giving to you called Go Giver.
Oh, The Go Giver. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great book.
Yeah. Which was huge as far as just, as we began to develop Enbridge and as we began to talk about giving back.
Yeah, that is a good book. We got a little bit of feedback going on. Ralph, can we kill that?
It's just a 30-second echo.
Yeah. What we talked about, just a reminder.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that nothing goes perfect, and you got to have grit. It's just like getting down here in this room. Took a little grit this morning.
It did.
Grit and grace. Huh?
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, I'm not going down there. And I was so happy because Pastor Dave had said, "Oh, we're going to do the call on Zoom." And I was like, "Oh man, this is going to be great. We're going to do this call on Zoom." And so I touched base with Ralph this morning, and I was like, "Hey, are we doing the call on Zoom?" He's like, "No, they're going to be down here." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because Pastor Dave said it was going to be on Zoom.
Sounds great.
And so I texted back, "Can you confirm?" And he's like, "They're here in the room." And I was like, "Okay," because I broke my ankle yesterday for the viewers who don't know. And so I was thinking to myself, how am I going to get down there?
Yeah.
Because just getting to the bathroom takes all my effort and strength. And and so I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I got to get down there, all the way down there. So, but that's kind of like what it is in business. It takes a lot of grit. There's the unforeseen things that come up. Like you said, you survived through 2011. My worst year was in 2009 for me.
Yeah, ours was 2010. 2011. Same
There's
thing.
some tough times, right? There's some tough times down there where you don't even. There was times then where I didn't even know if I was going to make it day to day. Like when you say, "Hey, we're sitting in church and, we're talking about $1,500 to go on this, and we don't know how we're going to put that together." Today, you think about $1,500, it's like, no big deal, just write the check and move on. But there's times when that $1,500 might be more than what you have in your bank account.
It is.
And you're sitting there and you're thinking every single dollar matters, and $3 here, $4 here matters, and that grit and determination. I remember during that time, I didn't pay myself for a year.
Yeah.
I would come home. I can remember specifically coming home, and I'm running this business and got all this going on, and my power's out. And I got to call my mom and say, "Mom, will you pay the power bill?"
Oh, jeez.
And she's like, "Yeah." But through that period of time on my entrepreneurial journey, my mission then was just, $200 a week or whatever it was to the church. Even if I couldn't pay myself, just that tithe, just that commitment to tithing and keeping your heart free. And this year has been a tough year for us in business. It hasn't been an easy year. And sometimes it's just tough, right? We're in, it's just a tough year for us. And we're only halfway through the year, so hopefully it gets better. And I was in church on Sunday, and one of the pastors comes over afterwards and says, I got to hit you up for some money. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so she's talking about, this, you know, this nonprofit that the church is sponsoring that helps, sexually abused women and sex trafficking and all of this. And I'm like, okay. So she's like, I'm like, how much money do you guys need? And she's like, 400 grand. And I'm like, okay, that's not even in my realm of world what we're talking about. So,
Right.
but we're talking about it, and we donate 10 grand.
Yeah.
And that was crazy at that particular moment. But I feel like God always stretches us. He
Yeah.
always wants to stretch us, always wants us to give a little bit more. And when you're at a place that's not good, he puts these opportunities in front of you. And I think he's saying, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Do you trust in the money or do you trust in me?
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important, just being able to have that free heart and that giving. And like before we had the little cutout thing there, it was the Go Giver book, right? And we talked
Yeah.
about that, and Pastor Dave gave that to me. That's a great book. I actually give it to all of our franchisees.
Yeah.
So look at what you do here passes down, and it affects so many lives down the road. You don't even see it. You don't even know what it is. But giving releases, the anxiety and the stress. Like I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, we just gave 10 grand
Yeah.
to these people. And I'm literally thinking to myself, I should cry right now. You know what I mean? Because it's stressful. But in that giving and that release, you know what? The anxiety and the stress goes away.
Yeah.
And you know that God is going to take care of you.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about what you have been building for the last, decade plus, is just this commitment to give back
Yeah. I mean,
or give forward,
I guess, sure.
whatever we want to call it.
I really feel that I'm just a tool in the tool bag, and God's been building the business for the last
He
20
does.
years.
Yeah.
I really just show up to work. That's all
That's a
and
great attitude. Humble attitude.
it's the truth though, because I mean, there's so many times that you're in business and you're talking about. I mean, I got called up to do a TV show, for goodness sake. I mean, that came out of nowhere. That wasn't on my goal list,
Right.
And one of the things I have to give my pastor a lot of credit on, Brandon Beals, man. He told me, he goes, hey, try to outgive God.
Yeah.
Go ahead, give it a shot, try it.
Never can outgive God.
Try it though.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. The concept is great, but go try it. And you start to give, and you give a little bit more, like you said, the 10 that was 10 grand. Hey, that's a hit.
Mm-hmm.
1,500, that was a huge hit.
Yeah.
At the time. And you give just a little bit more, and then all of a sudden it's like, good grief. You get contracts, you get jobs, you get all these things, basically more responsibilities,
Right.
financial responsibilities. And you're like, okay, well, I need to give more.
Yeah.
I have to give more. I mean, it's my responsibility to give more. I mean,
Yeah.
he gave me more, I gotta give more. I mean, so it's just this constant cycle, and before you know it, if you have a God first company, it builds itself. God builds it. You just keep showing up.
Does everybody who works for you a Christian, or is it a mixed bag?
Oh, it's definitely a mixed bag, and it's actually better. I think it would be that'd be great if everybody was a Christian, sure, but no, I like the idea of not everybody being a Christian. I like the idea of witnessing with your actions at work.
Right, sharing your vision and values and
Yeah,
passing that on and planting those seeds.
walk the walk.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting, because that little book you shared with Dave got to me,
That's funny. Yeah.
and then that's gone down the line, and we buy them in the bulk boxes and we give them out.
Oh, that book! I read that book I think in 2 sittings, because it's just such
it's short.
It's short.
Yeah.
And it's a great story. I mean, it's a real easy read. So yeah,
It is an easy read. We tell franchisees or whomever, read it on the plane ride home.
Yeah.
And they do. They knock it out. You know what I mean? It's better than watching a movie or trying to mess around on your tablet or something.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I'll leave it to you both. Any final thoughts from you, Jeff, Dave?
Well, number one, I'm just so privileged to sit with the both of you guys who have taken your business and how you guys have, honored God, how you guys have been true to the call of business, and how God has used you guys in this world, from building houses to the work that we do via Embridge. Just really, really pleased and proud of you guys for how you are living your lives.
Well, I mean, you're gonna have setbacks. You're gonna have like personal failures. You're gonna have all these different issues in your life, but God's the constant,
Yeah.
and He's there for you. And if you just keep turning to Him,
Mm-hmm.
you really can't fail. It's impossible to fail.
Yeah.
So you will succeed, number one. And it's just how far do you want to go? And so if you don't dream big enough and it doesn't scare you a little bit,
Yeah. Be a little bit afraid.
you should. You should
Be bold and courageous.
a little bit afraid all the time. Just a little paranoid.
You're always stretching. Sometimes you wonder if the rubber band's gonna break.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of my final thing. If for the companies out there that maybe are starting or trying to figure out what their focus is or their culture, take some time, figure that out.
Yeah.
And then push it just 5 degrees more.
5 degrees more.
Yeah.
That's a big shift. So Jeff has left us with a couple of great things. Finding Your Way. Check out that book, or Finding Your Why. Sorry, Finding Your Why. Dive into that. And listen, if you're out there and you guys do residential remodel, commercial remodel?
We do residential, yeah, just
Okay.
kind of in the Sonoma County area.
Cool. So if you're in the Snohomish County area and you're looking for a remodel contractor, JL Remodel. If you're looking at what they do as a nonprofit, JL Cares. This is Jeff Lawrence, and I'm sure you're on LinkedIn, Facebook.
Oh yeah,
Kind of.
Yeah.
So on and so forth a little bit.
I got people with that kind of stuff.
There you go.
Kind of skills.
We got people with the social media skills. So I'm Dave Westcott. Follow me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Facebook. Hope you enjoyed this. Throw Jeff some business his way if you're thinking about it, or if you have a need. I'm guessing all sorts of kitchen remodels, decking, roofing, siding.
No.
None of that.
We just kitchen and bath.
Just kitchen and bath.
Yeah, we're really good at it, and we just want to stay in our lane.
Okay, so none of those other things I mentioned.
No, that's it.
Okay, only JL Cares does those.
Yes, JL Cares.
So you really stretch the rubber band when you get the JL Cares project going.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So at home, it's just kitchen remodels and bath remodels, and This is the man in Snohomish County.
And we do it really, really well.
Awesome. We'll be back next week. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your time.